Hello everyone, I'm John with JP Strategic Investments, and today we're going to talk about whether or not Patriot One Technologies stock is forming a bottom here. We'll go over why the stock has jumped recently, do some technical analysis, and finally give my opinion on whether or not Patriot One Technologies stock has finally bottomed here. But before we get into this, I just want to clarify that none of these videos are paid for by Patriot One Technologies. I've had some confusion about this, so I just wanted to clear that up. But with that out of the way, let's dive right into the video. So first of all, we had a pretty sharp spike in Patriot One Technology stock yesterday, up over 30% at one point. Now, for any of you that are confused here, while the Toronto Exchange was closed yesterday for Boxing Day, the US markets were open, including the over-the-counter markets where Patriot One is traded in the US. Patriot One stock was up as much as 45 cents per share on the US OTC markets yesterday, which is the equivalent of 58 cents per share in Canadian dollars on the Toronto Exchange. The first reason here is that there was a car bombing in Nashville, Tennessee on Christmas morning. I'm not going to get into the details of the bombing here, but the point is that many investors in Patriot One feel that events like this will potentially spark demand in Patriot One's products. As bad as it might sound to profit off of events like this, there is some truth to this idea. After all, the only reason that Patriot One exists is because terrible things like this continue to happen. There's also some talk about some information another European reseller just recently put out that could be contributing to this move. But there's very little information on this, so it's unclear exactly how much this will affect Patriot One's sales. Finally, the last thing that most likely exaggerated yesterday's move is that the OTC markets have far less liquidity than the Toronto Exchange does. Less liquidity means larger bid-ask spreads, which often exaggerate already large movements in stocks. This is probably why we're seeing a decent pullback in the OTC ticker PTOTF, while the TSX ticker PAT is having a pretty nice up day. I actually called this pretty nicely yesterday when I notified everyone in the JP Strategic Investments Discord server that I was selling some stock because I thought the rally wouldn't last very long. And sure enough, it did drop back down pretty nicely today, and I bought back some earlier today. Now, while this is a strong pullback, it could actually be a very good sign that Patriot One Technology stock is bottoming here. So let's do some technical analysis here. To do this analysis, I'm basically going to ignore yesterday's movement because, as I said before, the lack of demand most likely distorted this move. Plus, the majority of trading on this stock goes through the Toronto Exchange, so I'm going to use this chart for the analysis. So the first thing to look at here is that Patriot One stock obviously broke through the support here after earnings, forming a series of new all-time lows. I did a full analysis on these earnings and how they could affect the stock, so if you haven't already checked that out, be sure to watch that video before we go any further here. As far as how the stock is moving now though, this rounded bottom here is a very good sign that the stock could be finding a bottom around the 40-cent level here and should have some support if their stock does dip back down. For those of you like myself in the US, that would be around the 30-cent level in the ticker PTOTF. To really confirm that this is a bottom for the stock, it would probably have to either drop down and bounce back up off this level again or break through the 50 MA that has been pushing the stock down since July. Personally, I would say that either of these events would be a strong confirmation of a bottom here. Another thing we have to keep in mind here is that there could have been a lot of tax loss selling here that pushed the stock down after earnings. In case you're unfamiliar with this, I'll give you a quick explanation. Basically, when you sell a stock for a loss, you can write off that loss against any other gains that you have made on stocks that you have sold this year. What can often happen towards the end of the year is that investors with a losing position will sell out of that position to realize the loss. Then they can write off that loss against their other gains. If they still think the stock will go up, usually they will buy back into the stock, but they have to wait 30 days to be eligible for the tax write-off. Many investors may have decided to do this after Patriot One's earnings with the mindset that the stock would most likely not have any major catalysts over the next month or so, and they would be able to get back into the stock before it jumped back up. We will have to wait another week or so to see if this really is the case, but it's definitely a possibility. So that's my analysis of why Patriot One stock has recently spiked and whether or not it could be forming a bottom here. Let me know in the comments below whether you think Patriot One Technologies is forming a bottom here, and if you found this analysis helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. And other than that, have a great day.